You're tuned into Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Tune in right now.
Welcome, Fit Clubbers. We are back, an all-new Fit Club. I'm your host, SHAKA Smith, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host, Miss Candi Marie.
Hey, guys. Miss Candi Marie is back in the building.
Yeah, she's an AfterBuzz staple recently on Queen Sugar, but we got so much more coming up.
Yeah, so much more coming up. And not to mention, I know you guys see my beautiful face. Join here with SHAKA for so many other Fit Club episodes.
Yes, so hopefully we'll get you back for more. Maybe we can get you on maybe permanently. We'll see. How are you doing? It's been a while.
Oh, my God. I'm doing great. It's been a great year already. A lot of health and fitness. You know, I gained 6 pounds of protein. I'm really excited about that. My tush is getting bigger.
I can't believe I haven't seen you maybe all January. Wow.
Yeah, Shaka, why?
Yeah, but no, January 2020 has gotten off to like a crazy start. You know, we had Kobe recently passing away, and we're going to talk about that a little bit later on in the show. But you've been coping well with the rest of 2020.
It's been interesting. It's been an interesting year. The month has felt like an entire year so far.
Like, can we just move on to 2021,
can we just, just zoom right past it.
But we do have an interesting slate of stories. We'll be talking about different outcomes when it comes to wealth disparities, talking about the microbiome and the effect on your personality. How about losing a night's sleep could lead to an increased risk for Alzheimer's, which is huge because none of us get enough sleep, it seems. And of course, seasonal affective disorder, talking about depression in the fall and winter months, and I think especially now with Kobe and that tragedy compounding some of that depression. We're going to talk about ways to cope and symptoms that you might be suffering from.
Right.
So, but let's get on into it. The first one is rich people stay healthier for a decade longer.
I'm not surprised with that.
And we knew that rich people kind of live longer intrinsically, but they're actually getting a full decade of healthy years, disability-free years. And so it looks like the average is 9 years. For men, it was 15 years. They looked at one study, 2016 study in JAMA, the top 1% versus the bottom 1%. For men, they get 15 years longer of a healthier life, and for women, it was 10 years. And this recent study looked at 2 other studies in the U.S. and the U.K., 25,000 people that were over 50, and they looked at different markers to kind of indicate whether or not they would have healthier outcomes towards the end of their life. And of course, they were able to mark some of that. And it looks like the biggest contributor to that was socioeconomic status. So no surprise, of course, right?
Yeah, it's no surprise at all. I mean, not to mention, they're able to buy organic foods.
Yeah.
You're not going to find a poor person buying organic. They're just going to go to the regular section. Also, healthcare. Healthcare, I think, is a big contributor. I know tons of poor people, myself being one of them, that don't have health insurance.
Yeah.
So when you get sick, most times we have our own natural remedies. Or we go to what is it? Wikipedia or all that other online doctoral things, and we try to figure it out ourselves. WebMD, that's it. And we try to figure it out ourselves. So I mean, there's no surprise there.
Yeah, but I do think there are a lot of things that we can do to kind of equalize, and I say that, with a little bit out of respect, I guess, because I think they're probably speaking to a population of people experiencing poverty that are way below the poverty line,
Right.
So I don't know, we probably might actually qualify for that top half of having the positive outcome when you look at the disparity around the world. But what I would say is you can be your own best doctor in ways. I think our healthcare is so focused on fixing the problem after it's happened, and that's why we see a lot of those negative outcomes, because now you have to throw money at the problem to fix it.
Right.
Whereas if you were able to be a little bit more vigilant on the way there, you might avoid the problem altogether.
Right.
Like with organic, some of it's more expensive, but there are places where you can find some organic just as cheaper, if not cheaper.
Right.
So you have to be more vigilant, and it can be tougher when you're worried to pay rent and worried about other childcare and other things. But there's space,
I think when you know better, you do better.
Yeah.
Prime example, I didn't know how to take care of myself until I moved to LA. And it was simply because of the community that I was in. The people around me were eating healthier.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the hell a Brussels sprout was until I moved here. No one back home in the South really ate Brussels sprouts. When I was growing up, Brussels sprouts were disgusting. And a lot of the other things, but because I was in a community of people that cared about themselves, I started to care more about myself. They exposed me to more. I have a gym membership. I'm in the best shape of my life now because, again, my community.
Exactly, and that was that space. Yeah, I think there are definitely things that we just can't afford, things we cannot do. But there
we think we can't afford.
Yeah, and there are things we can't. Yeah, but there are things we can afford and things we can do that we're not even doing. So I think that to me is the biggest takeaway. But man, Geez, we got to do something about healthcare in this country.
We do.
You know, got an election coming up, so maybe at least here in this country we can do something about
Come
it.
on, guys.
Let's see if we can get it together.
Exercise your right to vote.
Exactly. But speaking about more healthcare and getting your health from what you do now, we got to talk about the gut microbiome. We've talked a lot about it on the show.
Yes.
But you know, a new study is showing that it can even influence your personality. This is in the Human Microbiome Journal. And they found that more diverse microbiome leads people to be more social, less anxiety, less stress. And you get a diverse microbiome from eating large amounts of different food from different areas. Of course, getting it from naturally occurring areas where you can get probiotics like yogurt and sauerkraut. Of course, I'm vegan, so I avoid the yogurt, but you can get yogurt that has got probiotics in it from vegan sources as well.
Yes.
So it looks like the microbiome is really playing a very important role. We talked about it. Have you been watching kind of what you're doing with your own your gut health?
Yes, actually I have. I do enjoy yogurt with probiotics, you know, for feminine reasons as well. I think it's great just to, you know, keep your... can I say the V word? Or your vagina. And,
we are here to talk candidly.
Okay, great. That's great. You know,
keeping it candid,
that's great.
right?
We're gonna keep it super candid. Yeah. So I think you know, I hope. Yeah. Darn it, yogurt is great for you. I don't eat beef or pork. I don't eat a lot of the things that are heavy. Yeah, and I've felt a difference in my energy and even my personality when I changed certain things out of my diet.
Yeah, and they're saying that, you know, it looks like they're finding a link between the gut and how it's actually communicating with the brain from an endocrine standpoint, an immune standpoint, and a neural standpoint. So they're seeing the link and how it's actually affecting certain brain chemicals. But what I found interesting was they found that when you got these probiotics from naturally occurring places like yogurt and sauerkraut, it did lead to lower anxiety, stress, lower stress as well. But they didn't find the same result when it came to probiotic supplementation. So there's something to be said there as well. Of course, it was a smaller study, only 655 adults, but at the same time, it's interesting that they noticed that the microbiome was significantly affected if it came from naturally occurring sources versus supplementation. So something to think about for the people out there that are spending a lot of money on these supplements.
Right, yeah, and I used to take a lot of supplements, but now I've tried to choose the more natural route than just purchasing supplements.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it's the way to go.
Right, it does. I know that for me, like, especially when it comes to foods, when I ate heavier, it made me lazier.
Yeah.
You know, or it made my attitude was a little more negative, or just with my lifestyle. But eating healthier has made such a huge difference.
Yeah, it really is like eating. It's your healthcare. It's putting things into your body that are directly affecting you. It's just as important as if you're taking a pill that's prescribed from your doctor.
Right.
So I think when we start to look at it from that standpoint, then we start to have better health outcomes.
And also looking at it as like your stomach is also kind of like your brain.
Yeah.
You know, it's a second brain.
You have to feed it as if it is your brain.
Just with knowledge, you have to feed your brain with knowledge. You have to feed your brain.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, your second brain, your stomach, with also healthy choices.
Yeah. And making sure we make the right choices, we got to talk about our sleep, because that's the part that I think a lot of us are
Nobody wants to talk about that.
It's one of those things where you feel like you're less in control of, you know, because there's so many elements to just getting a good night's sleep.
Right.
But in the Journal of Neurology, they found that even missing one night's sleep led to increased tau protein in the blood. The tau protein has been associated with Alzheimer's. They also found missing that night's sleep also led to more beta amyloid as well. And beta amyloid's associated with tangles in the brain that are also associated with Alzheimer's. So they don't have these definitive links yet, but they have these sort of markers that seem to lead to an increased chance of getting Alzheimer's later in life. And of course, just missing one night's sleep seems to be one of these markers.
Now let's break some of these terms down, because I want to make sure that people have a clear understanding of what these terms are and how these individual things affect you.
Yeah. Yeah, so when we're talking about tau protein, it's a protein that they're finding in the blood that has been associated with an increased risk of Alzheimer's.
And how does one notice something like that affecting their body?
So you are not going to necessarily notice it affecting your body in that time. You might yourself feel tired, but you're not going to notice that you have more tau protein in your blood. But when they looked at the numbers, men who missed a night of sleep had 17% of tau protein in their blood versus those who didn't, who only had 2%.
Okay.
So there is a significant increase in that protein, which means you're likely of course not definitive with these studies, but likely giving yourself a greater risk for Alzheimer's.
Okay, and to be clear, guys, this is one of the main contributors of Alzheimer's.
Exactly, and the same thing with the beta amyloid. When we see these plaques and these tangles in the brain, that beta amyloid plaque is associated with Alzheimer's as well, and they're seeing an increased risk of that, an increase of that in the brain when you miss a night's sleep.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's serious stuff, and I think you kind of feel it long term, right? If you've ever been deprived of sleep, you almost feel like you're having these sort of misses in memory.
Right.
And, I don't know if that's directly associated with it, but it's not a leap to say that that's part of what's happening.
Right. How are your sleep patterns, Shaka?
Sometimes it's excellent and sometimes it's just off the rails. I want to say it's more off the rails than not, but I feel like, after going vegan, I've had more energy, so I'm able to get by on less sleep. Though I'm not getting as much sleep as I want, when I don't get as much sleep as I did before, I'm fine.
So let me ask you, because I think that we tend to think, oh my God, I have more energy, I'll be fine. I can sacrifice sleep because I have more energy here. I mean, do you feel like that has contributed to, I don't know, like maybe your behavior, or like how do you feel like it has affected you? Like, even though you do have the energy, but you have the lack of sleep, how is that affecting your body?
Well, you're just less productive because you hit those moments where you hit walls. So but before it used to be I couldn't get by on anything less than 6 hours of sleep. Now I can get by with like 5 hours of sleep and feel great. If I get anything less than that, then we're hitting that wall territory.
And you contribute that to your health?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that as a go-getter, oftentimes we think that we can just go off of like 3 hours of sleep. And that's something that I know that I'm guilty of. Like I wake up super early sometimes to work out at like 5 a.m. And then I don't even realize that I end up going to bed at like midnight or like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, because being go-getters and being such active individuals with less responsibilities, we find ourselves staying up, hanging out with friends, doing all these things, and then we realize, man, I didn't get any sleep this week.
Yeah, no, I was honest with myself about that a long time ago. I was like, I know I need more sleep. I just knew I wasn't able to get it, but like I was like, I should be getting more. I just couldn't find a way. But now I'm doing like a light therapy. Just turning off all the lights in the bedroom. I have a little eye mask, so when I remember to put it on, I put it on.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, so I have the little tips and tricks to make it as easy as possible for me, but sometimes I even rebel against, myself.
I could use some tips and tricks. Man, I know for me, like when I'm not sleeping, some of the things that I realize is I have brain farts.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, what is that word?
Yeah.
Or like, oh my God, I can't remember. What's that? It's just, you start to see the difference in your mental activity or your brain activity.
Yeah,
it really starts to show.
Yeah, we have to start seeing sleep as part of our productivity, not taking away from it. Yeah.
And I know that I was doing some reading, and Kobe was a big advocate of meditation and sleep.
Yeah.
Because he said that helped him to be the best version of himself.
Yeah,
meditation and sleep.
Once you get rid of the idea that it's somehow taking away from what you're doing and you actually engage in it, you realize it does actually help you. But it takes time, even though you know it, to train yourself, hey, take this moment to time out so that I can actually time in, really.
Right.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, we've all had those amazing naps where we've woke up and we've felt like we can take on the world.
Yeah.
Or we've gotten like 8 hours of sleep. Or maybe we've gone on vacation and it's like, oh my God, I need another vacation so I can finally rest, because it is very rejuvenating.
Yeah. So hopefully the takeaway is sleep, get some, and make sure you make it a priority.
Please.
But talking about seasonal depression, there's a new study that came out, because apparently, I didn't realize this, but January 20th is supposed to be like the darkest day of the year, the most depressing day of the year. It's called Blue Monday, and they're actually saying it's attributed to a little bit of marketing, but seasonal affective disorder is actually a thing. So Blue Monday is not necessarily an actual thing, but the actual seasonal affective disorder is. And that means you're getting sadder or more depressed during the fall and the winter. According to Psychology Today, 10 million Americans suffer from seasonal affective disorder, with 10 to 20% more having mild symptoms. And 40% of that group has it to the effect that it's so overwhelming it interferes with their daily lives. And there is a biochemical reason for this, in that their biochemistry is different, such that when you get less light during the day, they're actually getting more depressed as a result.
Right.
And so you can experience fatigue even though you're sleeping, weight gain due to overeating, carb cravings, sadness, loss of interest, worthlessness, guiltiness, and also suicidal thoughts as well. And these symptoms seem to take on between the ages of 18 and 30.
You know what? That actually makes tons of sense.
Yeah.
Simply because you're in the house.
Yeah.
You know, you're alone. You're not around friends. You're not enjoying the sunshine. And that's why people say when you're going through a hard time in your life, get out of the house. Go have fun. You know, go to the park. Go hiking. Do something. Do anything other than staying in your room.
Yeah, and clinically, the light affects, our brain cycle, our circadian rhythm. So the light really affects us. So they're saying one of the things you can do is have light therapy.
Yeah.
So light therapy helps, but of course, if you're getting to the point where you're having suicidal thoughts, maybe antidepressants, maybe therapy, but make sure you talk into a doctor as well. Don't just say, I'm going to handle this on my own. But for me, I actually do infrared light therapy, and I found that
Interesting.
I wouldn't say I ever got seasonally depressed. Maybe the first time I experienced cold, but at this stage, got from Miami. So the first time I went through a winter, I was like, I am depressed.
See, we're from Florida, so we're not used to all this depressive weather.
Yeah, it's like, I need light.
I hate the cold.
But I would say I never felt depressed, but you definitely feel a little bit sluggish during the winter months. Like I don't want to go to the gym; it's too cold. So I've been doing my light therapy, and that's kept my energy and my focus up.
So what exactly is light therapy?
Well, the one they have here, or the one that we talked about in the article I read, was just a normal light therapy. I use infrared light. It's this red light. It's got a particular wavelength. It's supposed to be more effective on my everything from my daily rhythm, so that my body knows to optimally when to go to sleep, optimally when to wake up. It's supposed to be helping with that, helping with cell rejuvenation as well. So I feel it. I think I feel it.
So is this like a place that you go to? You book an appointment? Like, how does this work?
Well, two things, yeah. So I was going to a place where I book an appointment. I still go there and I do the full body thing. But I work with a company. They sent me a device, and so I have a portable device that I have at my bedside.
This is cool.
So that I'm able to get that every day. Because a lot of times with some of these therapies, you got to get them consistently for them to work.
Right.
You don't want to just pay $100 and then go in somewhere, do it once, and then have that be it. And I'm fortunate some of these companies will send this stuff for me for free to try out and to test. So it's been lovely for me. But I get those outcomes in terms of, I get those stories when they say rich people live longer because they have access to a lot of this stuff.
Access.
Like a lot of this stuff, I wouldn't be able to afford it at all.
Right.
If not for the fact that I have a little thing where I'm able to go, hey, I'll post on social media if you're able to send me something. And so that's allowed me to try so many different things, but otherwise I would have zero access.
Wow, and access is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense as to why rich people are living longer. They have more access.
Yeah, so, but even doing what I do, where it's social media or different mediums, and a lot of times, a lot of companies are looking to microbloggers. They're looking for people that are on the ground talking to their friends and relatives about different things. So that might be a way for people to equalize some of these outcomes or to have a little bit more access.
I love it. That's the beauty of social media, guys.
Yeah. So, but with the seasonal depression, we did want to talk a little bit about Kobe Bryant and how that's affected people.
Yeah.
Mental health is physical health. It's health in its totality. And so I don't know how people have been coping. You talked a little bit about how you've been coping, how it's affected you, because it's really affected a lot of people, myself included.
It has. It's interesting because I can remember the exact moment that I found out about Kobe, what I was doing, where I was, and it didn't feel real.
Yeah.
I think for me, I was actually on the East Coast. I was in New York. I'd just gotten home from church, and it was about 1 o'clock East Coast time, and I saw an alert on Instagram from Butler. Butler was the first outlet that I saw that released something, and there wasn't a caption, so I was like, okay, wait, this has got to be fake news. This can't be right. And then I started to do more research, and I Googled it, and I started to see other outlets start to post about it. And then I saw there was a notification that came up about a plane crash in Calabasas, and then it hit me. I was just like, wow, like I think this might be true.
Yeah.
And it was like a family member of mine had passed away, and it didn't feel real because if you were a '90s kid, you grew up on Kobe. Yeah. I remember when Kobe, got drafted. I remember when he went to the Lakers. Like I actually can visualize those moments in my head. Growing up. Playing, a little bit of basketball, middle school athlete. I remember always talking about Kobe or Jordan and being a tomboy and, his work ethic more than anything and how cocky he was. And initially I was like, I don't like Kobe. He's so cocky and da-da-da-da. But then I started to gain respect for him because his love for the game and how he was a leader and what he meant to the people around him. And, I even got an opportunity to to attend Kobe spoke at an event that I attended. I think it was about 2 years ago, and it was when he got nominated for an Oscar, and it was the project that he had done. And I feel like we all are hurting right now. The city of Los Angeles is hurting, and I think that we can all learn something from this man.
Well, I think what has positively come out of it is that there is now this conversation about between how to honor him and then how to kind of push forward that legacy, and then a conversation about mental health. I've heard even on the radio, like, let's talk, let's make sure that you're taking care of yourself. For me, I was I'm at this wellness event in Malibu, and everyone's got this sort of like aura about them because meditation, that whole deal. And I see the news, and I'm just like, it was actually good that I was at that event because I was in that mode of taking care of myself. Yeah. I said, I can't read any more about this right now in this space because I need to make sure I'm at a place where I'm comfortable and I can feel, the depth of what's happening here. So I had to shut off the phone and just had to kind of plug back into where I was because I wanted to tell people, but I didn't want to ruin everyone's day either because no one knew, So, and I think there was very little cell service, so no one was really checking their phones. Yeah. And so you kind of want to be like, oh my God, Kobe, but at the same time, I was like, I want to have respect for this place and where everyone's at right now. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of times with tragedy, there is this point of mental health about how to deliver it, when to deliver it, and make sure you deliver it in the right way. Right. So I was kind of forced to confront all of that in that moment. And then when I went home, I was able to say, let me decompress. Now I can kind of deal with this and think of, because it was overwhelming, the sadness of just reading everything that happened.
So when you did get home, how exactly did you cope? Like how have you coped with it?
Basically just honestly reading it and then feeling those feelings, like just confronting. Because for me, whenever I'm sad or feel like I have to feel that feeling in that moment and then I have to let it go. Yeah. So I had to feel that and then let it go. Of course, with that one though, it's hard to let it go because you kept seeing so many things. And that's another part about it is when you're dealing with your own sadness, sometimes you feel like you've coped, and then another image comes to you,
Or we learn more details.
Yeah, like Vanessa Bryant, I mean, she must just be overwhelmed with so many things, and she's got to accept the fact that this is going to be something she sees for a while, even when she's trying to avoid it.
And it's her husband and her daughter. Yeah. She's had 2 major losses.
Yeah. So how she's dealing with it, I don't know, because that's overwhelming, Because there are moments where you don't want to see anything, but for her, that's impossible. Yeah. So hopefully it is sparking a conversation, though, I guess, about mental health, and hopefully we're all sort of, able to talk to one another about it.
And what's really, really cool, too, is just I love the support that the athletic community, not even just the athletic community, but the world has shown. Mm-hmm. The world has mourned, but they're also celebrating, just to go down to the Staples Center and just to see all the love. Like, I'm a huge advocate for celebrating life, not mourning it, but celebrating it. And I think that he did what he was supposed to do. Yeah. He lived his purpose. And just to understand what your purpose is, and I mean, even just to be a girl dad. Yeah, I love that.
And he embraced that.
He embraced it.
It's almost, I didn't even realize that was really a term. And
I
it's
love
almost
it.
become this
He's
term
coined
now.
it.
Yeah.
I never heard girl dad before Kobe.
Yeah, it's crazy. So it's nice that we can have that positive moment from this tragedy. And I didn't even realize, Kobe's a big world celebrity, but he felt so much a part of LA, we almost forgot. But the outpouring across the world was just amazing. Yeah.
It's beautiful. I love the support that everyone has shown and all the love, the respect that people have given his family, have given Vanessa. Our heart goes out to her and the other 3 little girls. But just also, people like listening to LeBron James and Shaquille O'Neal, and, our heart hurts for them because we can see and we can feel the pain. Yeah. I know I cried a little bit. I shed some tears. But what advice would you give to just anybody that's listening to this that's also coping with what happened with Kobe, or maybe even people in their family?
That's what I was going to say is let this be the conversation starter to other trauma that you're experiencing, other things that are deeper on a personal level for you. Yeah. That's the one thing, is that this is now a way to begin that conversation. If you were struggling with how to talk about your hurt and your pain and your loss, this is a great way to do it, because everyone understands this one. So tough, but we just hope we can honor that legacy, that Mamba mentality, and hopefully move forward with this year. It's crazy. It's only just February has just begun.
It's been a hard year so far, guys, but we're going to turn into a positive, and we're going to celebrate, and we're going to learn how to cope and deal with our mental health.
So what are you looking forward? Let's begin the year anew. What are you looking forward to this year? Any sort of, I don't want to say resolution, but
Mantra?
do you have it? Yeah, do you have something for this year that you are now kind of going to go carry forward?
Yes, my mantra for 2020 is faith over fear.
Oh,
I think another part of mental health that we experience, or more commonly, is overthinking.
Mm-hmm.
I think overthinking has been something that has been a part of me for so long, and I have decided that no more. I'm going to live in the moment, just like the Mamba mentality states. I'm going to live in the moment. I'm going to trust myself. I'm going to have more faith in my abilities and what I can do, and I'm going to win.
I love that. I love it.
We're going to win.
Let's all take that as our mantra. We are all going to win. I love that. I love that. But that's it for our stories today. Good to see you again,
I
Miss
know.
Candi Marie.
I love you, Shaka.
Yeah, please come back next week. Let's see.
Oh, one last thing,
Yeah.
and I have to say this, even just with being here with you right now, I think that we have to celebrate each other more.
Yeah,
you know, give
absolutely.
each other flowers. And one thing that
Oh,
I
I'd
want
love
to
some
say to
flowers.
you, here's some flowers. You are one of the most talented hosts. And I say this to you, and I say this to Kiki Boom Boom. Shout out to Kiki Boom Boom.
Yes.
But I think that you guys are so talented and so great and so dope. And just keep doing what you're doing.
And we feel the same about you, and that's why it's great to always connect with people that you get that love back and forth from. So hopefully you guys out there are also feeling that love, and we get from 5 stars and positive comments. Yes,
Subscribe.
Please do it.
Tap that like button.
And where can they find you online?
You guys can find me on Instagram at Miss Candi Marie. And on Twitter it's Weekend Or TV.
Nice. And it's Shaka Strong on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat. And we'll see you guys next week.
On behalf of our BHL staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in to Black Hollywood Live, the world's first digital broadcast network devoted entirely to urban entertainment and pop culture. Check out our Black Hollywood Live YouTube page for even more great programming and amazing content, and be sure to subscribe and like our channel when you do. I'm your BHL host, Nakia Monet, and you can find me on all social media at Kiki Boom Boom or at Black Hollywood Live. Black Hollywood Live, Hollywood redefined.